Hey, what's up YouTube? Lightsaber Samurai here, and I'm back again for another video. And this time I wanted to talk about hip-hop and its influence on video games. As some of you know, I'm a huge hip-hop fan, and I've been listening to hip-hop music basically as long as I've been listening to music. So in this video I wanted to talk about a handful of games with a heavy hip-hop influence. So without further ado, video games based on hip-hop, let's talk about it. Okay, so first up on the list, I wanted to talk about a video game featuring quite possibly the greatest hip-hop group of all time, and that is, of course, the WuTang Clan, and with their biopic series out now on Hulu. It got me thinking about this game, so I tracked it down, and of course, I'm talking about WuTang Clan Shaolin Style for the original PlayStation. This was a fighting game released in 1999 by Activision, and it was based on the canceled game Thrill Kill, and uses pretty much the same game engine. In this game, it plays from 1 to 4 players using the multi-tap, and all 10 members of the WuTang Clan at this time were playable. This is right around the time they released Wu-Tang Forever, so this is late 90s Wu-Tang. And in this game, the storyline, don't even ask me about the storyline. It's crazy and it doesn't make any sense. It's basically like one of those bad Chinese movies, like kung fu movies, but that was basically the idea in making this game. And like I said, all of your favorite Wu-Tang Clan members are here, from ODB to Method Man to RZA, GZA, Raekwon, all the rest, and this is kind of like a small arena style brawler, very similar to games like Power Stone on the Dreamcast, but it's kind of a mix between Power Stone and Mortal Kombat because of course the game is very bloody. Like I said, it was based on Thrill Kill. Itself was basically canceled because it was too much. It was too violent, it was too graphic at the time, it was too vulgar, and Wu-Tang Clan Shaolin Style basically has a slightly toned down version of that video game engine. In the game, you'll even have to put in a code to use the, like the blood and the fatalities and things like that. But ultimately, I thought it was a pretty good fighting game, and there's quite a few moves per character. And like I said, just not to mention that they made 3 exclusive tracks for the video game, like Wu World Order, and like I said, a lot of cool stuff. But if you do see this, it's kind of hard to find. It's not super expensive, but it does hang around the $30 mark, and you can get a hold of a multi-tap, and it's fun with 4-player split screen with some friends and the like. And so if you can get a hold of Wu-Tang Shaolin Style, definitely pick it up. It's a charming game. It's not the most well-made fighting game ever, but like I said, with the Wu-Tang charm and the atmosphere and the soundtrack, it makes it much more enjoyable than it probably should have been or would have been. So, Wu-Tang Clan Shaolin Style. Alrighty, next up, moving to the Xbox 360, and this was a game released, I want to say in 2005, in conjunction with Shady Aftermath, and I am talking about 50 Cent Blood in the Sand. And this game, oh my god, this game is super over the top. It's super crazy. Again, the storyline it doesn't make any sense. 50 Cent is overseas in the Middle East, and he's doing a concert, and I think he gets paid in like a diamond encrusted skull, but then a terrorist group steals the skull, and so him and the other members of G Unit, they have to get the skull back, and it doesn't make any sense, but it's fast, it's frenetic, and it's wild. Boasting 18 exclusive tracks, and I think it had some other bonuses like music videos and the like. Honestly, Blood and Sand is a very competent third-person shooter, and actually among my favorite on the system, actually. So despite the cheesiness of the storyline and things like that, the gameplay in this really holds up to like any of your military third-person shooters of the time, like Spec Ops The Line and things like that. Spec Ops The Line, of course, had a much better story, but gameplay-wise, this definitely holds up to Spec Ops. And like I said, in this, you play as 50 Cent, and the other members of G Unit are there. I can't remember if this, I want to say if it's a 2-player co-op, and so it's a 2-player co-op game, and that's pretty rare in this day and age. Like I said, couch co-op and 2-player co-op, and like I said, it's fun to run through this with a friend. And like I said, it's pretty straightforward, so there's not much I can say about it. The graphics actually are on point, the character models are on point, and that's something that I can say more for this game than Shaolin Style, of course, being on the PlayStation. But the character models in this look really good. 50 Cent looks like 50 Cent, and you can tell who's who. And the like I said, the gunplay works very well. The controls are very tight, and I think they're pretty intuitive. And I really like the combo system that's kind of like those cinematic kills where you earn that through just racking up regular kills and the bar will fill up. And then once you get close enough to an enemy, you can hit, I want to say it's like X or something like that. And he'll pull off a close quarters kill with his knife. And those are super brutal and honestly a lot of fun to watch. This game, like I said, super wild. And this is a cheap one and one that I'm starting to see disappear. So like I said, you can still get this one at the time of this recording for under 20 bucks. So 50 Cent Blood and Sand, if you see it, it's a great time even if you're not a fan of hip hop. So go ahead and pick this up today. All right, going on to the original Xbox now, and I've talked about this game before. And like I said, it's among one of my favorite games of all time. That, of course, is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, even though this isn't technically a story about hip hop and the like, a lot of hip hop artists lent their voice to this game. I mean, you'll see, vocal performances and not just music, but, playing the roles of actual characters in the game. CJ himself is voiced by a California rapper named Young Melee. So he takes a starring role as CJ. Carl Johnson. You've got The Game in there, who made a cameo appearance as one of the characters. Ice-T makes an appearance in there. Who is Ice? I want to say Ice-T is, I can't remember who Ice-T is, but he's in the game. A bunch of other rappers are in the game, and not to mention, that's even before we get to the soundtrack. And the soundtrack, Radio Los Santos had, all of the big hip-hop acts of the early 90s, and, G-Funk was really popping off. And like I said, the whole vibe of this game was heavily influenced by hip-hop and by movies like South Central and Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society and things like that. So, the ties to hip-hop run deep in this game. And you guys know the story. It's Carl Johnson. You come back after your mom was killed in a drive-by to bury her, but you get caught up in a bunch of other BS along the way. It's an open-world game and one of the best, certainly the best of the 6th generation in my opinion. And the amount of freedom that this game gave you was certainly unprecedented at the time, and still of a level that few games, even games in the Grand Theft Auto series, have been able to match since then. So like I said, definitely among the greatest games of all time. And that being said, it had a heavy influence by hip-hop. So like I said, you should already have this in your collection already if you play any kind of games. If you don't, go back and get it. You can get it they re-released it on the 360 and PS3, so you can play the 6th generation version on those. Not to mention it's backwards compatible, so you can play this on the Xbox One, and I'm sure it's still on the digital store, so there's no excuse not to have San Andreas. So go get San Andreas. Alrighty guys, next up on the list, and we're sticking with the 6th generation, and this time we're talking about one of the best fighting / wrestling / brawlers of all time with the heavy influence with hip hop. Of course, I'm talking about Def Jam Fight for New York on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. I love the game so much, I got it on both systems. The PlayStation 2 version, it's really jumped up in price. It's kind of hovering around $50, $60 used, but you can get the Xbox version for about half that. And like I said, in this game, you make your own character. The setting, of course, is New York, and I mean, anybody who was anybody in hip-hop and television, this was a love letter to the culture. And it wasn't just hip-hop artists who featured in this game. A lot of actors and TV personalities and comedians, and like I said, just people who are of the culture, like Mike Epps and Carmen Electra and Henry Rollins and the like. All of them make appearances in this game. Again, this is one you all should be familiar with at this point, and like I said, one of the greatest wrestling / brawlers of its time. And it plays a lot like a lot of wrestling games, like the SmackDown games and stuff that were kind of popular at the time, but heavily infused with hip-hop. Like I said, all licensed soundtrack by the most popular hip-hop artists of the day, Snoop Dogg and Busta Rhymes and Exhibit and Corrupt and a lot of guys like that. This is most famous for the blaze attacks, and that was the coolest thing to pull off. And it was, kind of signature moves with every character. You do damage to your opponent and feel the rage bar, and once you do, you can hit the 2 shoulder buttons to activate the blaze attack. And then if you got the grapple off after that point, like I said, you're doing big damage. Had a lot of different fighting styles that you can choose, from kickboxing to kind of Muay Thai to wrestling to kind of street fighting brawler style. A lot of customizations. Like I said, you created your own character, and you can deck them out in all kinds of different outfits, buy licensed brands like Fat Farm and Echo and Fubu, and just, clothing brands that were popular at the time. Get gold chains and jewelry, and of course that actually is a game mechanic because it adds to your respect meter, so you get bonuses for just being fly in the game and flossing while you were tearing up opponents. And so, like I said, can't say enough of good things about this game. It is probably the best in the series, and maybe we'll look at the rest of the series at another point. I've talked about this game briefly before, and you can get it, like I said, PS2, Xbox. So definitely pick this up, especially if you see them for cheap. Even if you don't see them for cheap, you got to break the piggy bank and grab these games because they're just that good. Alright, the last game I'm going to talk about today on the list, this was released on the Xbox 360. It was developed by Surge, and I can't remember who published it. I believe Microsoft published it. This is, of course, Afro Samurai on the 360. You can also get it for the PS3. I've talked about this before in games based on anime, but it definitely deserves a mention here because it is heavily influenced by hip-hop. And in this, it follows the story of Afro Samurai throughout the anime series, and like I said, the gameplay was very tight. I remember in the last episode where I talked about this, I talked about how they got the feel of the manga very, very well in this. Like I said, they use a cel shading style for the graphics, and the music is on point. And like I said, it follows the storyline. Speaking of the music, most of it is written by the RZA, of WuTang Clan, and we talked about them earlier. But like I said, it's so fitting, the fusion of hip-hop and like swordsman anime style. Like I said, Wu-Tang was big on that themselves anyway, and their rap style and their whole aesthetic was based on Chinese kung fu movies. So the bridge, like the correlations were strong there. Afro Samurai himself, of course, based off and voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, someone who's definitely of the culture, has been for a long time. So like I said, this game, the spirit of this game and its character really comes from its influence on hip-hop, as far as its, kind of original, like it's a unique character with it. Afro Samurai is always smoking the J and stuff like that. So like I said, this game, it's super cheap and still one of the best hack and slash games of the 7th generation. The combat style, the combat was really good in it, and I love the way you can kind of slow down time and kind of use the right stick to aim precision cuts, similar to how you can do in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, but just not to that level, not as crazy. But like I said, if you aim it right, you can slice off an opponent's head or his arm or his hand or his foot or whatever the case, and so you can really be precise with it. You can even slice him in half with the torso. So like I said, this game, it's a super cheap game, under $10 usually when I see it, and I usually see it everywhere, and it's one you can pick up. So definitely pick it up before it becomes rare and then you regret it later. But like I said, that's the last one we'll talk about on this list, Afro Samurai. Alright guys, so I think that's going to do it for me, but let's talk about it in the comment section below. Questions, comments, concerns, threats. What are some other games that are based on or have a heavy influence with hip-hop that I can mention in a video in the future? Like I said, I plan on breaking this up, and I plan on doing another video on this subject in the future. I'm looking over there in my collection, and I'm thinking of some already, but like I said, if there are any others that you can talk about, like I said, we can talk about the other Def Jam games in the series. The 50 Cent game was actually the sequel, the prequel, Bulletproof, which came out on the original Xbox. Something we might talk about in the future, but I want to know your thoughts so I can go ahead and scoop these games up and add them to the collection. If you like this content, please go ahead and give me a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I drop new content, which I'm doing more frequently now. But with that said, that's all I got for you. Lightsaber Samurai out. Peace. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? I dropped these bars on them one time. You know what I'm saying? Straight bars, son. You know what I'm saying? Talking about it, yeah. They don't really want it with me when I'm dealing with these lames. You know, Lightsaber Samurai, he got all the games. Serving all these fools up, what you want to do? Xbox, PlayStation, PlayStation 2. I got everything, son. Don't nobody want it. Mortal Kombat, hey, yo, I got a body on it. Yeah. Lightsaber Samurai, you know we getting live. So go ahead, click that button and subscribe. Yeah. Bars.